Welcome to Sipping on Excellence. This is Coach KJ, and I'm here with my man, my dude, the Doc.
And this is where we will be discussing the exceptional that is absolutely attainable. My friends, here's to living that extraordinary life.
Cheers. I love how you over here looking like Ray Charles.
Right?
Trying to get the keyboard. That's what happens when we're off for too long.
Oh, we got a new setup today, y'all.
Yeah.
We got a new setup.
Yeah,
we're working it. We are definitely working
What do
it.
you think if we bring that table over here?
I feel comfortable now, man. I feel like I'm sitting behind a desk
In a studio.
I can look over at this dude when I want to and not have to reach for shit.
Right. Because when I leave, this neck be like this
Like
all
this,
day long.
in a crick like this. Remember when you used to say, I got a crook in my neck?
I got a crook.
A crook.
He stole that muscle. That damn crook.
Yeah, crook in my neck.
Yeah. Where did that term come from? A crick, crook.
Crook? I don't know. I always used to think it was a Southern thing. Then people out here started saying
so.
it. And I was like, crook
That's
in the
because
neck.
everyone out here is from the South. Well, black-wise.
Well, yeah, right.
And black
When you think about
the
it.
great migration in the 30s, 40s.
Right?
50s. Because they're like, I'm out.
Deuces, y'all ain't catching me.
Because it was Texas and Louisiana. They moved west. It was Mississippi and Alabama moved to like Detroit, moved to Chicago area. And then a lot of people from Georgia and Florida moved up to the D.C. area.
Dude is giving me a American history education.
They're like, we are out of this mess down here.
Well, it's funny that most people aren't even going to get to know that concept because they won't teach it to our kids no more, man.
Well, they never taught it to us. You had to learn.
True. We had to learn our own.
Yeah, we had to want to learn.
Man, anyway, welcome y'all, because we're going to get back to that because I got what's wrong with y'all.
Okay.
But welcome back to another week of sipping on excellence, y'all. We're glad to be back. Kenny's fresh off vacation. I'm fresh off vacation. We've been here working it out, trying to take things to the next level for you who are going to be watching us, but those of you who tune in every week for listening. So first of all, I'd like to say thank all of y'all for making this podcast what it is, making it enjoyable for us to talk, and I hope y'all enjoy listening.
I hope you enjoy listening because we really enjoy talking. I may not make a lot of sense all the time, but I know what I'm talking about sometimes.
Sometimes. I'm right sometimes.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time.
I'm always right sometimes. But yeah, I want to take this moment of pause just to say, you know what, man? Thank y'all, man. We appreciate you.
Blessings.
We truly appreciate you. And today we're going to get into a topic that everybody thinks about, but nobody ever really wants to talk about.
Not at all.
Like people they're afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so we just said, you know what? We're gonna get into it today because it's something that affects 100% of human beings across the board.
Especially as you get older.
Absolutely. You start thinking about it as you get older.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll get into that. But Kenny was talking about the Great Migration West and all of that. And it reminded me of how we don't know our history. And it's simply what brought that up today was a post that I saw on Instagram that D.L. Hughley posted. Mm-hmm. Did you see there's a school, is it in California? I can't remember if it's here in California, but a high school football team, their whole season got suspended. The rest of their season got suspended because the players were having, as a prank, a fake or mock slave auction. And they were auctioning off black football players. And the team itself somebody took a video of them in a room having dudes stand there in like boxers and no shirts, looking like they were slaves at auction.
Get out of town.
And it's sad that this generation of youth don't see how crazy that is. And yet, because they're not being educated, the further removed we are from that shitty part of our history as a country, the more things like this are going to happen, right? Because people will think it's okay because it happened 200 years ago or whatever, so this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so what's wrong with y'all is, what's wrong with everybody who out there who thinks teaching kids that this is wrong or teaching kids about this is a bad thing, is making kids hate white people. It is absolutely not. It's just educating them on our past.
Right. A little shame.
So little shit like that doesn't happen.
Yeah, because you know what? A little shame goes a long way.
Right.
A little shame, because we're not shaming in the sense of like, this is who you are. No, this is what happened, so that way we can not have this reoccurring theme happen again.
You are not your ancestors, but no. I promise you will always pay for your family and ancestors' sins.
Because it's heredity.
And so you have to at least acknowledge that shit happens. Whenever you look at, murders in the U.S. and the murder rate, I'm not killing people, but you look at me and say your people are doing it.
Right.
And you're kind of right. My people are doing it. But do I take responsibility for teaching my nephews that is wrong? Absolutely.
Right.
So why can't you teach your kids that what happened in the past was wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, look at in Germany. They teach about the Holocaust.
Right. Because if you don't teach and learn from it, it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
Either you learn from history or you repeat it.
Yeah.
And maybe some people out there want it repeated.
Yeah.
Yeah, come at my ass. I got something for you. I'll tell you that now.
Yeah. And it'd be swift.
It's gonna be a little different this time around.
It's gonna cut a little differently.
Right. We'll see who gets whips on their back.
Oh, talk about whips. You hear about Will Smith's movie?
I just saw a little picture frame of it. What is it?
It's about the picture that shows the back of the slave were the whippings that were so severe.
Yeah.
And he's that slave. He's bringing that out. He did it a while ago, but they're saying that this is possibly an Oscar-worthy role as well. But I mean,
he had to, before he could really do this or put it out, he had to get past that heat.
Yeah.
And so I think, like everything else, you get the next hot story and nobody cares that he slapped the shit out of.
That also goes with history.
Out of rock.
That goes with history. It's like we're only pulling out history that is pertaining to right now, so I can feel good about me, shoveling people aside or cancel culture or whatever. We're only pulling out portions as opposed to saying that this person can change or this situation can be different.
Right.
Or, it's like it's all temporary. It's all relative to however they need to move forward with their lives, which is kind of effed up, man.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Another what's wrong with y'all, you had, Kenny came in hot today because somebody tried to, I guess, send themselves to the afterlife.
Oh man, they try to send themselves to the upper room with Jesus. If you have not seen Life, that is one of the best parts. You are missing out. But no, I was driving, about to get on the freeway. This guy decided he was going to make a left turn on our green light.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Before. Yeah. Like people are already in motion and he's still making this turn. I'm like, and of course he was in a bucket.
Of course.
Because he doesn't respect.
He doesn't respect the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
It's he's like, I'm going to be protected.
It's like homeless people that just walk in the middle of the street whenever. Like, oh, I got to cross the street right now with my 15 carts.
Sorry, I got to move because I got to see this dude. Get a crook in my neck.
I know. We are slowly but surely readjusting to our new setup. Makes you feel a little taller though, doesn't it?
But it works. I feel like I got everything in front of me and I don't have to reach over.
Right.
This trick hip won't act up. Oh, I'm sorry. That's you with the trick hip.
Yeah, it's definitely me with the trick hip, bro. Right. It is tricky.
So it's interesting that he talks about this gentleman wanting to be sent quickly to the afterlife. Right. And, we talked about this, before Kenny and I together. And just like when people say the afterlife, what does that even mean?
Right.
What's afterlife?
Right.
I think if you look at the term afterlife, you're making an assumption that life ends.
Yeah.
You know, so our topic today, y'all, what we wanted to talk about is the thing that everybody's afraid to talk about.
Yeah.
Death and what happens next.
Yeah. And also just kind of like what's happening now. Why are we so driven on what happens next?
Yeah. It's like instead of living, you're worrying about living later.
Right.
And it's like, what does that even mean? And so our sip of the day, I decided, you know, with Kenny, we were just like, look, let's sip on something that is the essence of life. You can't live without it. You will die without it.
You can go days without food,
but
you can't go
half a day without this because it will without water. And people think, well, I don't drink water, but you drink coffee, you drink tea, you drink all that. It's got water.
But also, if you drink fruit, I mean, if you eat fruit,
anything with water content,
it has water content.
And your body is what, 60% water, 70% water,
something like that? 75% water.
You know, so cheers to y'all out there. We sipping water today, and we're gonna get after it.
Yeah,
make sure juice of life.
Drink your agua.
Yeah.
It's vital.
A lot of it.
A lot of it.
And that's the problem. Most people don't, they're like, oh, I drink this amount a day and I feel like I'm drowning. If you think you drink enough, you don't.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
If you, you know what my favorite part is, especially as a trainer, the trainer aspect, is people always say, well, you know, I'm dehydrated. Well, I drank water today. Do you understand? It's not what you drink today. That's going to make the difference. You need to drink 2 to 3 days to equate for that one day.
You got to be consistent.
Yeah,
your body's your body's like a dry ass sponge.
Do you have plants at home? Do you have Do you have a pet? Watch what happens when that dog doesn't get his water. He will act up.
You water them. Why don't you water yourself?
Right. And they literally start.
Right.
They salivate hard. So what does that say about you?
Man, I literally think nobody drinks enough.
No.
It's just we don't.
People ask me about weight loss. Guess what I tell them? First thing, start drinking water.
I want to feel younger. I want to look younger. Hydrate yourself.
Right. If you use water to clean your ass and clean that body, what do you think that water is going to do when you put it down your throat? It's going to clean all the crap that's in your body as well.
I want it outside. I want it on me, not in me.
Yeah. I mean, dude.
It don't make no sense.
You put it in your mouth so it can clean you out on
but
the
that
inside.
makes no sense.
I know.
That people don't grasp that. And I always tell people, and you know, I'm at fault too. I don't drink a lot of water, and I find myself when I go to sleep at night, I wake up and there's like 2 or 3 empty water bottles. My body's like, in sleep, feed me, Seymour.
You know, I also understand why you don't, because if you're so, especially in surgery.
Yeah, I don't want to have to leave and pee.
Man, you know, let me leave this body wide open.
I'm gonna be back, y'all. Just give me a sec.
Y'all good? Then if you go to the restroom, you have to come back, do the whole scrub
situation all over again.
And
everybody
take all the gear
standing there
off
like this
because you got on lead.
Man, is he coming back?
Yeah,
exactly.
It was
full.
Yeah. Change your life.
Right.
I'm here for it.
But yeah, man, let's dive in.
Yeah.
Let's dive in. So after life, I always talk about kind of most people and their concepts of death and dying or the afterlife comes from how they were raised.
Yeah.
And it usually, if not 100% of the time, starts with religion.
Yes.
You know, so my upbringing, I was raised as Seventh-day Adventist. Okay. You know, go to church on Saturdays, Friday nights is holy. You know, some of the very similar aspects of Judaism, but not the same. And we were always taught that you follow the 10 Commandments, you go to church on Saturday, you don't. You be good, you treat people well, so at the end of the day...
Okay, so you went to church on Saturday.
On Saturdays.
Okay. Because Sunday is the Sabbath. It's Sunday. Technically, you're supposed to all be resting.
Saturday is what they believe is the Sabbath.
Yeah.
I say they because people are going to hate me when I say this. I escaped the cult. That's my saying, because yes, every religion has its place.
Yes.
And it's based on a belief system that nobody can prove. Nothing is provable. And so it's based purely on faith and trust in what the person standing in front of you is telling you is the truth.
Well, think about it. We were talking about, the migration. You look back and you start talking about slavery. You think about how they were taught that their greatness and things that are going to come to them, their better, is going to be in the afterlife. So
Correct.
they can stay in the field and keep working hard.
Right.
So you're just working to die.
And they're just looking forward to that time when, my life's ended because I'm now in a better place.
Yeah.
Well, that's now assuming that you're going somewhere.
Right.
And so the concept of like heaven and hell. How do I control the masses? And I wasn't trying to make this a religious talk,
by no means.
But it's part of it.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about go to hell. Okay, so that's a bad thing. Go to hell.
Yeah.
Oh, so and so, little Jimmy, got shot and died, and now he's in heaven. Well, heaven and hell, the concept of that, what's the best way to control the masses? Is to say, follow me, and when you die, you're going to go to a place that has streets paved with gold. Gold is so pure that it's almost transparent. You're going to start by going to the pearly gates.
Right.
You're going to have a crown with jewels, and all the great things you do in this life adds another jewel to your crown. You will never age. You will never be hungry. You will never be tired. You will have this amazing life if you do everything that I tell you here. And by the way, to help me continue to tell other people, I need you to give me money. You need to give me part of your income, so that way I can continue spreading the message of everybody should go. Give me something now. Don't amass riches here. Give them away so I can just be rich later.
Right.
I'm going to get all the gold I want if I give the gold I have away.
Yeah.
Now, as a logical man, does that sound like, does it make sense? Right?
Right.
And so when people say, when you die, this is where you're going. So here's my question. When you're born, where do you come from?
Interesting.
Because think about it. Life is neither created or destroyed. Energy is not created or destroyed. So your soul, your spirit, when your parents do the thing and those gametes meet and
everything comes together. Yeah.
Do you think all of a sudden a spirit is created then?
Right.
Or do you feel that the vessel is created then that the spirit enters? That your soul or that who you are enters. Your parents don't create your personality, because if that was the case, then we'd figure out a way to create it.
It's funny is I've never thought about it from the very start. It's kind of like we just evolve into this being, or we're creating the being, but apparently there's a level of quote unquote spirit or energy or person of
your subconscious, all of that person the person you are isn't created.
Right.
The human being, I shouldn't say that. I would say the body is created.
Right.
The human has never been created and was never destroyed. And so this brings up, my thought process, like how people say there's ghost. Well, what do people, when people say I feel a presence, why? Because that person's never gone anywhere. Did I tell you the story about a nurse that was working at my surgery center? I don't know if I told you the story. So this'll you guys might get goosebumps when you hear this, because I got goosebumps. And I'm gonna chalk it down, but one of the nurses that was working at our surgery center had never met my brother and I before. Didn't know our story, didn't know anything. And our nurse anesthetist that was working with us, she tells her this story. And she's like, I'm talking to you because there's just something I want to tell you. And she's like, when the Hump brothers are operating, she's like, well, back up. She says her brother died young.
Okay.
And she began having these feelings of like she could sense people's presence.
Okay.
And she never really talked to anybody about it. She just could tell when her brother was around and all this stuff. So this nurse tells me that she was being told that when she's in the operating room with us, she's sitting there and she's like, she sees a man standing behind us. And she's like, and his arms are folded and he's looking over you, looking at the surgery, like watching intently.
So this has happened more than once.
This is what she's telling. Yeah.
Okay.
She's like watching intently, not watching you, but watching what you're doing.
You know, I'm making all my adjustments.
Watching what you're doing, and
I got it. Oh,
we're making a mess over here, y'all. But watching,
keep talking.
Watching what you're doing.
I'm gonna fix this up.
And she said, she's like, he's standing there looking, beaming with pride, as opposed to, you know, almost like she's like an uncle figure or whatever it may be, right? You know, and she was just like asking, you know, like, what could this possibly mean? And the nurse anesthetist was like, well, you do know that their father died when they were younger, right, and blah, whatever. She's like, that explains it. She's like, but she's like, he told me. She's like, and I felt that he basically said he's there for every one of your surgeries. Every surgery, he's standing there and he just watches you work. She's like, doesn't say anything. He just watches you work, watches with pride, and watches over you. Had no idea when she said, well, she was like, yeah, it's like an uncle, whatever. And I was like, oh, well, he was a physician. And she's like, that explains why he's watching what you're doing so intently and not watching you as a fact so intently. She's like, but yeah, she's like, I just wanted you to know that he's proud and he's always there in surgery with you. And I was just like, dude, I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it. But I tell that story because and this is a man who I don't have a memory of because he died when I was 5. And if he died in the sense that we think, and then we think, you know, we're always taught in Seventh-day Adventism, we always say that person dies, they're in the ground, blah, blah, whatever, and their spirit doesn't come back until the second coming of Christ.
Okay.
And then he raises the dead and takes them all to heaven.
So the spirit is only readily available until after this happens.
Correct.
Is that what?
So the spirit is, you're basically dead.
He's
until God comes back.
Void.
And
yeah.
But and so if that's the case, then how is this presence possible? And if she's making it up, how did she know all of that with nobody telling her and with neither one of us ever talking about it? You know what I mean? And so that leads me to start thinking, you know, and I've always thought this, where are these, you know, the presence of these spirits or whatever it may be? It just leads me to believe that there is no afterlife because life never ends. I think the force of life gets transferred. And think about this. You know,
are we all? So basically, we're all vessels.
That's exactly
our bodies are just carrying vessels.
That's exactly what I think it is. Vessels through time. You know, and I think the more we learn, the more we question. You know, I believe in science. I believe in religion to a certain extent, meaning I have faith that there's something else out there. I have faith that there's something beyond the physical.
Oh, of course.
You know, can I tell you it's God? God is the easiest thing the easiest way to describe it, but the most esoteric concept and the most abstract concept that's the hardest to understand.
Yeah.
And so because it's so hard and difficult to understand, you just say it's God's work.
Yeah. But isn't God, God is not a one and done. He's not a one entity. He is omnipresent. He's larger than. It's not. I think we get caught into names, and I think that's just a name.
Well, and we always say he's always this or he's always that. But think about this: is that concept of God just the collective living or the collective consciousness and subconsciousness of everybody?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Think about this. Have you ever been somewhere and as you're walking down the street, you're like, I feel like I've been here before. Deja vu.
Deja vu. Yeah. Or you see something. You're in a conversation. You stop and you say, I've been in this conversation before.
Or you see somebody and you're like, you've never met that person before. You see them before. You see them, you're like, I feel like I know you from somewhere.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's my thought when it comes to that. I think at some point in time, our spirits, or whatever you want to call this thing that keeps us alive, I say spirit because I don't know what else to say, have crossed paths at some point in time. Not in this vessel. It could have been 5,000 years ago in a different vessel, and they crossed. And that's what that familiarity is. You can't explain it.
Yeah.
And that's why when I look at different religions, I think, and then you look at like Buddhism, or you look at the people that believe in reincarnation, and that, okay, you go from this spirit to the next. I told you about a book, and it's fascinating. It's called The Tibetan Book on Living and Dying. And one of the stories told in that book was about this little girl who, her and her dad, and this is a story that's in multiple different books. What she did, she used to always say, hey, Dad, I want to go to this next town. She's like, well, the town next over. He's like, why? What do you want to go there for? And this is a story that actually really happened. And so one day they're walking through town or whatever, and she's like, I want to go to that house. And he's like, why do you want to go there? And she kept saying, I want to go to this house.
Okay.
So they go and they knock on the door, and she just walks in.
And she knows.
And she's like, I used to live here. She's like, this is my house. And everybody, and she's a young girl, and everybody's like, what the hell? And his dad's like, oh, forgive me for my daughter, whatever. She walks over to the fireplace. There's, people have pictures up or whatever on the mantle, whatever. She walks over and points to a picture. She's like, that's me.
Wow.
So that young girl that was in the picture years ago, was killed in a bus accident.
As a young girl.
Okay. Killed in a bus accident and ends up dying, whatever. And this other little girl didn't know why she always wanted to come to this town and kept telling her dad, I want to go to this house. And I'm, the story may be a little bit off on his timeline, but the gist of the story was that little girl was the other little girl. And she started telling them stories about the little girl on the mantle who she had never met, have never known, and said, that's me. And the crazy thing is, she didn't want to leave.
Wow.
She's like, this is my home. And the other family was tripping, blah, whatever. But and this story gets told, and there are multiple stories like this.
Oh, of course.
That people tell all over the world, and it's in books. But people choose not to hear it because it goes against everything they've been taught in school or in religious practice or whatever it may be. And so it's one of those things where what truly happens when our physical body is no longer able to carry something that's infinite.
Yeah.
If you really truly believe that energy is neither created nor destroyed, and you think your life force is an energy, then why don't you believe that energy is just transferred? You feel me?
Yeah. It's what's interesting because, we've talked about this in the past. We've talked about fear. And of course, one of the things of dealing with death is it's an absolute. It's going to happen, but it's the fear of because we don't know.
It's the fear of the unknown, yeah.
But what I find interesting is the opposite side is living with love. Isn't love God? Isn't love is being in that spirit here now and living out that spirit, that energy now as we speak, so that way you can carry that on wherever it is.
I think it's the fuel that feeds the spirit.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that spirit can be fueled by love. It can be fueled by hate.
Yeah.
You know, but it's still fueled.
Yeah.
And I think it's what some people stay alive longer because they are so passionate and hate something so much. Think about it. But they also stay alive longer because they love something so much.
Yeah. And so maybe they just love that hate. So
And
those that live long, they may love that hate so much.
And prime example, one of my brother and I's patients just passed away a couple days ago.
Sorry.
He basically told his wife and his son, whatever, yeah, I'm good.
Oh, yeah.
And so how often do we hear somebody say, yeah, I'm done? When they say I'm done, they're not controlling the physical body. The spirit's like, I'm out. And it goes to wherever it's going to be next.
How old was he?
70 something.
Yeah.
You know?
I find that interesting too. Older people especially. They just like, no, I'm good. I'm ready.
But even some young people are just like, I'm out. I just, especially if they're really sick and they're like, all right, this vessel is shutting me down. So let me move on to the next.
So where does it come from that we hold on to the physical so much?
Because our minds are capable of understanding that there's more, but our belief system won't allow us to accept that there's more. Because we're taught from little, you're born, you live, you die. And like I was telling you earlier, that's why I don't go to funerals. Not because I just don't like death and dying. I don't go to funerals because if I go to a funeral, that's me accepting that you're gone forever. That's me accepting that who you are is done. And that's not true. I don't know that our paths aren't going to cross sometime in the future.
Right.
They may, you know. And when I mean our paths, I don't know that our collective energies won't.
Oh, because I honestly, I feel like I go to, I was telling you earlier that I visit my father's gravesite. I do because that's the tangible. You see it, you're there. I know this is where his physical remains are. So I clean up in the area, because that's the way we lived. But
and that's where you feel connected to.
That's where I feel connected. It's my time to just get away and have conversation. But I also wash my car because that was our connection.
Right.
But I feel like I have actual conversations with him on a regular basis. And I have no qualms about it. I talk out loud, like as if he's in the room.
And here's the funny thing. What happens if you come across people or someone that does things that remind you of them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you start thinking like,
yeah,
why is that? Because they just were similar, or is there something else that's driving that? You know what I mean? And like me, my dad is buried not far from here.
Oh, okay.
He's out in Loma Linda.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't been in 25 years, 26 years. I went when he was buried, went one more time after the day after my sister got married, and I was like, I'm good. I don't need to go back. Because in my mind, he's not there.
Yeah.
His remains are there. Mm-hmm. So to go back and say I miss his remains would me be accepting that his life force no longer exists. And to me, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
And some people may say, well, that's easier to believe. It's a self-protective mechanism. Well, you know what? That's cool then. It keeps me moving forward.
Yeah.
And I live my life not thinking I'm going to get another shot at this. I'm thinking, there's going to come a time I'm going to start over and I get to do it all over again.
Right.
Somewhere, somehow, some way. And so this is where the concept of karma comes in. Like, people are always like, oh, you do something shitty now, karma's going to step in and
Right.
bite you in the ass. How do you not know? And this is something that was mentioned in this book, that the real meaning behind karma means you're getting everything you're doing now is based on karma from not necessarily your past life, but 100 lives ago, or whatever it may be. And it's just good and bad. Whatever's happening is because of decisions that were made in prior lives, whether you've learned from them or not, or whatever happens. You may be paying for now. Like something you do today, it's not that your kids are going to suffer the karma of you.
Right.
It's
your
next life,
your
or
spirit.
Your spirit carries that on,
Yeah.
and things will happen and occur because of things that you've done now, unless you change how you move and do everything here. You know, the vessel isn't going to suffer the karma. That ghostly is going to suffer that. You know, and so, and if you think about it, that's sort of where, I don't know anything about it, but you can start talking about the paranormal and all this stuff, and everybody always thinks that it's evil and it's devil worship and all that. Why would you worship anything? It's not worshiping it. It's accepting the fact that there's more to life than what we see.
But isn't that just people wanting to be attached to something?
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Be attached to this now and know that you'll be attached to something else in the next one. And it's okay. So people always used to ask me, do you fear death? I don't.
Right.
Me dying is, it's going to come to us all. So I don't fear it at all. What I don't want is the people around me to suffer because I'm not here. So I want to do as much as I can while I'm here, so the people around me will suffer less when I'm gone.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Because in the next life, I may not cross their path.
Right.
And I may not be able to do anything for them in the next life, but I know I'll be able to do something for somebody else.
Right.
And when I say the next life, meaning the continuation of my current life.
Right.
And
it just says right now what we have in front of us is just provide as much goodness in your life that you can, so you can keep going forward.
Yeah.
And just be good with you.
And how do I even know? And I know I'm asking a lot of questions. How do I even know that the continuation of this life is on this planet, this world,
this universe?
Look at Men in Black. What they thought was the universe was a locker. You escape that locker, then you're in a whole different universe, which then is part of a bigger universe and a bigger one and a bigger one.
We're always looking towards the stars, right? And you look at a star and you're like, oh, well, I see the stars. Those are other solar systems. We don't know.
I believe in a God I can't see, but I refuse to believe there's life outside of a planet where I can see another one.
Right.
I can see that one, but you're telling me there's nothing there. But the dude I can't see, you're telling me 100% absolutely exists and controls how I live my life.
Yeah.
Make that make sense.
Yeah. I mean,
right.
Like we were talking about stars. You see all these stars beyond. They're beyond the planets that exist within our solar system.
Oh,
that we're seeing shining.
Absolutely.
Which means those are suns.
Absolutely.
And so that's another solar system.
Dude.
There's another
system of some sort.
There's another Lionel, another Kenny.
Yeah.
Eons away.
And it's right. And so it's one of those things where,
who's to say?
Stop telling me that this is it. You only have one life to live, so ball out.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You do only have one life to live. This body only gets to experience it once. And so enjoy this one, because the next vessel, who knows what you're going to want to do with that one.
Right.
The beauty of it is you're going to get to do whatever you want as you do it. So just don't look at life as so finite.
Right.
Right. I can't.
Life is finite, and also the love of fear. Living in this world of fear of what is inevitable but look at what is possible. Let's look at the possibilities while you're here, because what you're doing is the possibility of creating an even better existence for the spirit, because that I can't come up with a better word,
Right.
for that spirit to move on to another vessel that's going to be possibly amazing,
right?
Or might need to come up from the up from the ranks.
But if you really think,
give it something.
But if you think about it, they're all amazing. Just the concept of it, they're all amazing, regardless of your station in life. That life force in general is absolutely amazing.
I think that is what we need to fall in love with.
Yeah,
that idea. That's just beautiful.
Fall in love with the idea of living.
Let's just take that in for a second. I feel good just by you saying that. Like it's amazing how that makes you feel.
Yes, life is hard. Life sucks at times. Life is great at times. But embrace the fact that life is to be lived.
Yeah.
And know that, okay, this time around, it's kind of not cool. All right, it's not cool. So make it as cool as you can, and then just say, you know what? I've done what I could with this time. Now, I can't control what I do with the next time, but hopefully there's some karma, deja vu, things that will pass through me that I will get to live it better or different. Who cares? Better, worse, doesn't matter. I'm going to live it different the next time. And then it's going to be different the time after that, And so be it. Don't be so afraid of living because you're so afraid of dying.
Right.
If you live your life without fear of dying, then you'll just only think about living and you'll love life. If you're so afraid of dying, then you're going to be always doing everything to protect yourself from what you think is a finality.
Right. You're just putting bumpers, more and more bumpers around you, which is still going to happen.
Yes.
Just live for the possibilities.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't believe in God. Don't believe.
No,
believe in him. But believe in the love that he's offering you to exist in and the possibilities that can happen in this moment right now.
Believe that there's more than what you see and know.
Yeah.
And don't believe that a man or another woman will take you to where you think you need to go.
Right.
Because no man or woman sits to the right hand of God controlling what you do. I'm sorry. I don't care how anointed you think someone is. And there's going to be a whole lot of people that are going to want to assassinate me for this. But
I don't know about assassinate.
No, but I'm just saying, it's just, if you really think about it, I'm not an atheist. I grew up thinking, believing in God. As I grow older, my concept of God changes. My concept of what life after physical death changes. My concept of what I see every day at work has changed because there's things I can't explain. And if I can't explain it, does not mean that it doesn't exist. It just means I can't explain it. There was a time in our lives when we couldn't explain how a plane could fly. Now we explain it all day, every day. Mm-hmm. Think about what we'll know in 100 years. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Think about screw that. Think about what we'll know in 5 years.
Right.
Whoever thought I would be walking around outside holding a phone to my ear? Whoever thought that there would be such thing as a phone?
Computer to your ear.
Whoever thought that there would be such thing as a phone?
Yeah.
That I could light up a room with something other than fire. All these things were once thought to be, you're out of your mind crazy.
Think about it. Just the idea of when you're using a phone, the idea of a phone going overseas. How are we making that communication happen?
I'm just assuming that there are particles in the air that, and here's the crazy thing. I can't see them. Nobody can see them, but you're telling me there's particles in the air that jump from my phone to Kenny's phone without a connection of any kind. No wires. It's not traveling on a highway. It just magically happens. I send him a video and he picks it right up. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I just, in my mind, believe that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I can't explain how it happens. I've never seen it. I don't see it physically going there. I just know because I've been told by the man who made the phone that it will happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it does. So when I tell you, I'm not telling you what to believe in, but believe what you're going to believe because it's truly just a belief. There's no science behind it. There's no technology behind it. It's just faith. Mm-hmm. And you can have faith in God, but you can also have faith in the man standing next to you. And that faith that you have in the man standing next to you has nothing to do with his physical form.
You know, when you were talking about man and trusting and learning and continue to educate, do you remember Reggie White?
Yep.
And remember
he's a preacher.
He's a preacher. But, you know, before he passed, because, you know, he went down for something happened where I guess he made some statements, you know, because he was, you know, old school Baptist, you know, but he took the time after some of the dumb statements that he made about church and God. I can't remember what they were, but he decided to go further into the study of religion overall. He studied, you know, went into not religion, but also spirituality, because Buddhism is more of a spiritual.
Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not a religion. But he studied, you know, Judaism. He studied Islam. He studied everything. He wanted a better foundation of all these different religions. And he was just like, I have a better understanding of why man believes and why man lives and why man dies and how we create this energy. And it was amazing to hear, but that happened right before he passed.
And there's no reason, or there's nothing wrong with having a belief system.
No.
Believe in something. That's what I always tell people. Just believe in something.
Yeah.
And whatever that is, if you want to believe that, you know what, I die tomorrow, that's it, then cool. You believe in that. And then the next you will probably have very different beliefs. Or I think it's healthy just to have the optimism of what's next. Not, I'm going somewhere to see a white guy with a long beard and a white robe. That's just what the world has put out there. Me, I like to believe that, shit, there's something next. You know, I'm doing pretty good with this one.
Right.
I'm balling out on the next one. You know, I'm helping, you know, I want to say that I'm doing some good this time around. I want to do some great next time around. And I want to do even better the next time and the next time and the next time.
Right.
You know, and I think, you know, we get so caught up in societal views, religious views, political views, because everybody acts as that life is final. And I think if people stopped acting like life is final and that shit carries on, people will be different. People will treat people differently. People will act differently. People will really have a grasp at truly understanding what life really means. Yeah, just saying.
I am just saying.
That's all I got, y'all, man. I don't know. I don't even know what else to say.
I mean, this is a topic I think it's necessary. It's necessary for people to hear so they can start having the conversation. And
I think it'll get revisited.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Yeah. Because, you know, it's like always that thing where, we'll just, you know, now let's just start planning. You know, it's like you living and you planning for death. You know what I mean? It's like, let's plan for living so we can die peacefully.
Why do you think funeral homes and cemeteries make so much money?
Because it's upper room.
Because everybody's going to, quote unquote, die at some point in time. And we all got to pay for it.
Yeah, man.
Do we really? You know, and so it's always going to be funny.
Yeah. Necessary, though.
Necessary conversations, man.
Necessary conversation.
Dude, this was a good conversation to have, man.
And we want you all to have that conversation.
Talk to each other, man.
openly.
Ask questions.
Yeah.
Talk to your preachers. Ask them questions.
Ask them questions.
You know,
you might open up their minds a little bit.
Man, yo, we're gonna close this out for y'all today. Y'all can find me at Leonel Hunt.
Oh, you almost forgot.
Almost forgot. At Leonel Hunt on IG. You can find me at huntspine.com. Coach KJ.
Coach KJ Knows on Instagram. Coach KJ Knows on Instagram and CoachKJ.com. Also, you can find us at
podcastsoe.com. And at SOE_podcast.
Yes.
Check out everything Coach and Doc, man.
We're everywhere.
We have a blast doing this every week for y'all. And dude,
we out.
Good one, y'all.